Hello, book lovers, and welcome to Authors Love Bookstores from a Mighty Blaze. I'm your host, Joe Moldover, author of Every Moment After, and I am so happy to be here with you today. Today, I am thrilled to welcome the author Megan Abbott. Megan Abbott is the award-winning author of 9 crime novels, including the best-selling You Will Know Me and Give Me Your Hand. Her writing has appeared in the New York Times, The Guardian, Paris Review, and the Wall Street Journal. Formerly a writer on HBO's The Deuce, she is currently co-showrunner and co-creator of Dare Me, which recently completed its first season on the USA Network and Netflix. Hello, Megan, and thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Also with us is McKenna Jordan from Murder by the Book. Welcome, McKenna.
Hi. Thanks
Hello.
so much.
Oh, we're so happy you're here. And McKenna, we want our viewers to learn a little bit more about your fascinating bookstore. So we have prepared a couple of questions for you. So first, you are located in Houston, Texas.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about where you are, what's going on there, and the community you serve.
So we are located in Houston, as you said, close by Rice University and the Texas Medical Center. So for those who know the city, inside the loop, pretty central. We're also close to West University. We serve all over the US, though, actually all over the world. About a third of our business is mail order. So we certainly have a lot of regular customers. We like to think of ourselves like Cheers, where someone comes in and we greet them by name and know what book to put in their hands that day. But we also do a tremendous amount of mail order business all over the place.
That's great. And you are one of the oldest and largest specialty mystery stores in the country, I think. You've been around for 40 years. Tell us a little bit about your history.
Yes, so this month celebrates our 40th anniversary. We're going to be doing a big limited edition t-shirt and some other fun things announcing this week. But spoiler alert, Megan will be part of the t-shirt. So anyway, it was started in 1980 by a woman named Martha Farrington, and she started it in a very small space, just as a specialty mystery bookstore. It was more kind of traditional and British mysteries at that point. That is now the spot next door to us, which is a coffee shop. At some point, maybe 10 years in, she moved to the location where we are now, which used to be a plasterers union. So it's got these great, we call them keyholes cut in the ceiling. It makes it kind of unique, big columns everywhere. Anyway, she was the owner when I started there in 2003. I started part-time and quickly became book buyer manager and purchased the store in 2009, January 2009, and I've owned it since.
That's great. You are the first mystery specialty store that we've interviewed in this series. And I would love to just talk to you a little bit about mystery books and mystery writing. So first, I will say that mystery books are probably the first genre of literature that I really read when I was growing up. My father was a huge mystery fan, and I read the books that he read, which were things like P.D. James and Reginald Hill and authors like that. But I think that's only sort of one small slice of kind of the mystery pie. So, would you sort of say something about mystery books and the different sort of subgenres and types of mystery books?
Oh, absolutely. It's amazing how many people read mysteries and don't realize they read mysteries. So you're talking about classic traditional British mysteries, but we have people in all the time who say, I don't really read mysteries, can you recommend something to me? And then they start looking around the store and they read Kate Atkinson, or they've read Gillian Flynn, or they've read all sorts of authors that maybe they just think are general literary fiction, but at the heart of those books there are crimes. So we have everything from your very traditional, cozy cats help solve the mysteries and no blood and gore on screen, to dark, disturbing serial killers, to espionage, to the Jim Butcher books where it's a fantasy detective. If there's a detective in it or a crime in it, we're going to carry it. And what's so great is there's something for everyone.
Got it. So there has to be sort of some sort of a crime and a crime solving process at the heart of the book, but then
Yeah.
around that, it could be sort of any sort of tone or plot or character.
Sure, it can be something, some kind of mystery. Someone receives a letter about their sister, and maybe nothing happens on screen to the sister, but that main character, you learn about her life while she's trying to solve this thing that happened to her sister. I mean, it can be a loose connection. And when I'm doing the ordering, there's always this fine line between what I think is actually going to fit, what seems like it might fit, and then what should but might not. So
Got it.
it's always a guess. Like Delia Owens for the Crawdad thing, initially we didn't bring in because it seemed more Southern literary, but clearly, you know, and trust me, our customers will tell us if we've made a mistake not bringing something in. But we try very hard to have a comprehensive take of the genre.
That's so interesting. And, you know, we do this series because this is a sort of unique and uniquely difficult time right now for bookstores, for the country. I mean, what do you think the appeal is of mystery books to readers, especially at a time like this, especially sort of during difficult times?
Well, it's hard to ignore the escapist factor of some kind of the thriller books that are out there, the fast-paced, short chapters, urgency to solve what's going on. Like certainly something engrossing is helpful at this time. But I've done a few talks and in recently, and then also just watching what customers have purchased. I have a theory that is coming true, which is that in troubled times, people want to be reassured. And so we're finding we have sold hundreds of Agatha Christie books during this time period because in every book, something happens, something tragic happens, there's a struggle with it, and then there's a resolution. And what people want right now is that resolution. They want to feel like, since there's everything else in the world is out of their control, that at least the book that they're reading puts everything back in order. And we're selling golden age mysteries or mysteries in that style hand over fist.
Oh, that's so interesting. That's really
Yeah.
fascinating. Now you are a store. You have to keep your lights on and so forth. Tell us just a little bit about how you've adapted to the COVID crisis. Are you doing online sales? Are people coming into your store now? What's going on?
Yeah, so since March, so just for people who don't know about my store, we do, in general, we have 3 to 5 authors in every week, sometimes more. So author signed books and tours are a huge part of our business and what we love doing. Obviously, that has stopped. I think our last event where we had an author in store was March 15th. So we immediately transitioned into figuring out these virtual events. For example, I talked to 3 different authors yesterday. We've done now dozens. We've probably talked to at least 100 authors since April, and people are really enjoying them. That being said, we could always stand more support and purchasing off those events. I mean, we are providing a service and people are loving them, but it's not the same type of sales situation as when people come into the store for a signing and they want to get the book so they can get the author to sign it. So we are really enjoying the virtual events. We're enjoying being able to talk to people overseas that we might not see on a tour. That's been really, really fun. I just did a really fun event that Megan kindly moderated for us the other day with Jeff Abbott and Ace Atkins. Again, like we wouldn't necessarily have had all 3 of them in the same room, so it was nice to be able to do all that. We are still closed to the public. We closed when there was the initial shutdown in April that was mandated. And since then, for the safety of my staff members and frankly, for the safety of my older generation reader customers, we have stayed closed. We have done curbside pickup throughout. We have a free media mail shipping over $50 order thing in place so that it will encourage customers to still order books and get them mailed to them so they can stay home safely and read. And one of the reasons that I'm sitting here at home doing this is because the phones don't stop. That's the only way for people to reach us. I mean, they can order online and they can email, but people call all the time, whether they're picking up books or whether they're ordering or whether they want recommendations over the phone. So we learned quickly that we can't do any of these events during the daytime at the store because the phones go constantly. So it's a very good problem to have that we are still being supported. Nothing is normal. Sales volume is not normal. We don't have events. None of that is normal, but we are very aware that we're doing a lot better than a lot of places. So for that, I'm thankful.
That's great. And I know that the online ordering info is going to be in the comment feed for our online audience.
Thank you.
Megan, I want to turn to you because we are here with Murder by the Book today because you nominated this bookstore. Tell us a little bit about what makes them special and why you love them.
Well, within the crime fiction community, which McKenna is a part of and can attest to, is very tight and very insular and really a wonderful network of support. And Murder by the Book is the beloved store. There are several, but it it's a special place in my heart because when I first started publishing in 2005, it was one of the first stores that even noticed me, or this sort of struggle of the debut novelist trying to get any attention at all. And there's my first book, and McKenna and other people from the store would always be at our crime conventions, and just sort of socially we just McKenna is so beloved. She's just, and so I knew her even before I'd been to the store. But then everyone told me about the store for so long. It was so thrilling. It was, oh my God, over a dozen years now. But I still remember the first time I walked in it. And in some ways it's so unassuming from the outside because it's in a strip mall and it looks kind of small. And then you go in and it's actually enormous and is like a mystery crime lover's delight. Like you just want to get lost in there, and it's just wonderful on every level. And as an author doing events there, it's a well-oiled machine, but also you see how much the customers, the relationship between McKenna and John and Sally, the other people that work there, the relationship between the customer and the staff, and how warm it is, and how it's really like hand selling, hand picking things, knowing their customers' tastes, making recommendations, making connections. So you just feel like you've walked into someone's house on Thanksgiving and they put you at the head of the table. Like it's wonderful. It's just a great warm feeling. And some of the customers that come to Murder by the Book are among my favorite readers ever because they're delightful and they're often very surprising. Very lively.
Oh, that's great.
They consider it their second home, I think, in the store sometimes, perhaps too much so.
That's great. We're getting some audience questions coming in. I've got one for each of you. Megan, I'm going to come to you first. And this is from a fan who's obviously read your work. It references You Will Know Me. And the question is this: what is it about the intensity of female friendships that lead to violence? Would a less competitive personality take action like Devin in You Will Know Me? Would a male character?
Oh boy, well, that's a complicated question and a great one. I would say the short version is that I think that girls and women have been raised in our culture. This is changing, but for centuries to hide their ambition and their competitive feeling. It's not considered feminine. There's this notion of wearing this mask you don't want to be seen as aggressive or assertive or pushy, all these things that we've sort of seen women take the heat from on the national stage and elsewhere. So I think there's something about having to hide it that makes it, and having to fight harder as a woman to achieve that, I think burns really brightly, and can feel like a surprise, though to other women it never is, because women know how ambitious and competitive one another is, and it goes really deep. So it's a source of constant fascination to me. And this is the kind of stuff that you can explore in crime novels. It's why it's so, I think, tactile a genre, because my books tend to be from the point of view of the criminals or the family members or friends of criminals. They're not from the point of view of cops or detectives, or they're the criminal in your home. So very, very heartwarming.
That's so interesting. McKenna, bookseller question for you, although Megan, you may also have an opinion about this. If someone has never read a mystery, where should they start?
So I have a couple recommendations. If someone wants a classic traditional mystery, one of my very first ones that hooked me on the genre was Agatha Christie's And Then There Were None. Yes. It is a standalone. You don't have to meet Poirot, you don't have to meet Marple. It is just the quintessential closed cast of characters, remote location, people start dying. How is it possible? I love that book. I still hand sell it all the time. I sell it to teenagers who, want to try an Agatha Christie, because I think it's one of her most accessible and a really great introduction to the genre. If someone reads literary fiction and doesn't think that they want to read mysteries, I always recommend Kate Atkinson's Case Histories. So Jackson Brodie is, of course, a private investigator, but the book is so much about these three women's stories and how they intertwine and the struggles that women deal with on in everyday life. And it's interesting because, of course, it's being dissected by this male perspective, but I love that series. I love that book. Again, that's an author all the time that people go, I didn't know she wrote mysteries, and they're literally private eye books. So those are two that I always go to. The people at Murder by the Book make fun of me that Case Histories is my favorite book in the store, which I don't think it is, but I think it's just, it fills a need very well. So.
Kind of a gateway book, I think, for a lot of people. I think Gone Girl has been for people, or sometimes Ton of French. I know
I was about to say Ton of French for sure.
They don't think they're reading mysteries, and they're like obviously mysteries. There's no mystery to it. Or sometimes even something like Donna Tartt's Secret History, which is definitely a crime novel and a mystery. So if literary fiction is where you are, if you tend to be what they call quote unquote women's fiction reader, generally something like Laura Lippman would probably be any of her books, especially her standalones, would be a great entree point too. So, and if you like style, you could go to like Raymond Chandler, a favorite of mine. You could go to the American Hardboiled.
For sure. And of course, any of Megan's books. I mean, she writes so throughout her writing. She's done so many different styles. I mean, Die a Little and Song as You are both such beautiful homages to that classic Chandler style, whereas the current stuff would fit perfectly for a Gillian Flynn or even Kate Atkinson fan.
Megan, you mentioned Secret History as being both a mystery and a crime novel. What do you mean by that? How do you sort of parse those two things?
Well, I mean, I suppose sometimes I warn people that my books are crime novels, not mysteries, because sometimes people, if they think there's going to be a detective or a reporter or a policeman trying to solve it. But in the case of, this is a little bit of a Secret History spoiler, but also spoiler of all mine, they tend to be about like a pressure cooker situation that leads to someone dying usually, and then everyone having to deal with the consequences. So I think a lot of those books are great gateways if you're going in sort of resistant to traditional mysteries, though everyone should read those too. Agatha Christie was my gateway, so I think it can come in. And a lot of people might read true crime and never read crime fiction or mysteries, and then they could go to James Ellroy and be very happy with what they would find. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It's sorry, go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
I was going to say it's representative of all the little intricacies of the wording within our subgenres that we do differentiate between mysteries and crime novels. I say like our anniversary stuff that's coming out is going to say 40 years of crime fiction, because we can't say mysteries. And if we tell someone this is a mystery and they don't have something they want to read and solve along, then they will be upset. Like, we have customers who like crime novels and have customers who want a good mystery, and those are two different things. So yeah.
I see. You mentioned And Then There Were None, and I really vividly remember the first time I read that book. I think that there has been a YA adaptation of it. I believe it's called 10. And I wonder, do you have a YA section in your store, and do you cater to younger readers as well?
We do, absolutely. We have all across the board children's mysteries, anything from board books to young adult, with the qualification that 95% of them are mysteries and crime novels. So, you know, just like you would expect from the store. We do, especially for young readers and baby board books, types like that, we bring in, because there aren't as many mysteries, we bring in books for bibliophiles. So little books about books and libraries and reading. We're all suckers for those. So we always have those kind of gifty baby books in stock. But once you get to middle grade and young adult, they're primarily going to be mysteries. And actually, several of us do read those and recommend them both to children and to our adult customers who read within that genre too.
Remind me, another thing that you have a lot there, that another gateway one are historical nonfiction about a crime, which, you know, is, you know, there's a whole wonderful trove of books like that can be Eric Larson, or, you know, anyone sort of tackling a crime from the past. And that's also, you know, if you're someone who reads a lot of biographies and history, then that might be a good way in. And once you're in the store, you know, you'll be we love our narrative nonfiction, especially the historicals, and that's a very popular section for us. Again, you mentioned exactly, Eric Larson is the gateway drug for people. They come in and they say they love Eric Larson, and then we recommend Paul French, or we recommend whomever else. I love Paul French. Those are great books. So.
I would love to ask a little bit about live events. So it sounds like that's just a really important part of the store. Live events are fascinating, fun, sometimes harrowing. I wonder if you can think of an event that has been especially unexpected or unique or funny or bizarre or just especially noteworthy that has come through your store over the years.
Well, you know, the ones that stand out aren't the 99% of them that are delightful. The ones that stand out are the ones where something went wrong.
Right.
So whether it's an author who flies his own plane everywhere, coming in late and leaving after 20 minutes, and all his customers wanting to return the book because he was such a jerk, or whether, but again, few and far between, or whether it's having a really good friend paired up with someone else that we thought was going to be reliable, and author with the reliable one shows up completely blitzed. Like, that's always fun when you start a pairing of a conversation, you know, conversation pairing up front, and one of them is clearly incapable of talking. And so I will never forget standing at the back going, like basically needing a crook to pull someone off stage. And I actually interrupted the event to tell the good author, who was doing what he should have been, to tell him, you can't let her talk. So, you know, things like that happen. They happen very rarely. But, you know, it's always wonderful when you're standing in the signing line, helping people get things signed, to see, you know, I named my child after your character. And then, like, that's a special moment. Wow. Or things like that happen, and the personal stories about how the author's books have affected that customer. You know, I've witnessed so many of those stories over the years, and it's not every time, but it's magical when it happens.
I love that. That's so great. Megan, you've been to Murder by the Book. Is there a trip or an event that is especially memorable in your mind?
Yes. yes. There's some that I won't share,
Okay.
here, but one of the most wonderful ones in my life was I think a pretty regular customer, a couple, and they had big mystery lover that had Maltese Falcon tattooed on his leg, and he had me sign it with a Sharpie. And the next year I came back and he had tattooed where the Sharpie was. He had tattooed my signature on his
Wow.
leg, which was, I have to tell you, it was deeply thrilling. And we remain in touch over social media, that couple, because I feel connected to them now. So I think that's the kind of stuff that would only happen in a store like Murder by the Book, because it does feel like home and a safe, wonderful space where we can all be our weird crime fiction loving selves.
Wow. You know, I've had some nice fan letters, but I don't think anybody's ever gotten my signature tattooed. So that's I guess my new life goal. We are running down on time. It's wonderful talking to the two of you. To the online audience, we are with author Megan Abbott and bookseller McKenna Jordan from Murder by the Book. Murder by the Book is doing curbside pickup if you happen to be in Houston. And if you are anywhere else in the world, they are doing online sales, and you can find the links in our Facebook feed, including links to buy Megan's books. Megan, I understand that your next book will hopefully be forthcoming in June 2021.
Yes, that's right. And I also say that the books that when you order them from Murder by the Book come beautifully packed. And I have my most recent one that arrived. But also I order, and McKenna knows, a lot of puzzles from Murder by the Book. They're like pandemic puzzles. So they also have a wonderful selection of puzzles. So like, get yourself a whole big package, people. It'll be worth it.
Fabulous.
Thanks, Megan.
And that is murderbooks.com. And to keep up with Megan's work, including the forthcoming novel for June 2021, head to meganabbott.com. Thank you all so much for being here today. Thank you both. Thank you to the online audience. It's been wonderful talking to you. I would love to make it to Murder by the Book sometime. I'll bring my dad along.
We'd love it.
And to the online audience, please join us here next week, next Wednesday, for more episodes of Authors Love Bookstores. Until then, stay well and keep reading.
Thank you so much. Thanks for the nomination, Megan.
Oh, thank you, McKenna. And don't order from Amazon. Nobody.